So here is the cosmic joke nobody laughs at. You think you finished work today. You shut down the laptop. You even had the audacity to stretch and announce out loud, "I am done." But the truth? You are not done. You have not been done in years. You just shifted platforms. You moved from Outlook to Instagram, from Slack to TikTok, from Teams to YouTube. That is not freedom. That is parole with Wi-Fi. You call it relaxation. I call it sedation. And before you argue, let me ask, when was the last time you woke up the next morning after relaxing and felt actually restored? Not just alive enough to drag yourself into another day, but genuinely rested, like your body remembered what it means to belong to you. Think of the way Netflix asks, "Are you still watching?" You hear it as empathy. I hear it as surveillance, like the platform is leaning over your shoulder, not to check if you are okay, but to log how deep your attention debt goes, because your time has been colonized. And here is the part that stings. You volunteered. You signed the terms. You clicked accept all. You want to believe you are resting. But your rest is just your exhaustion, wearing new pajamas. You snack, you scroll, you binge, you mute. You call it downtime. It is more like ghosting yourself until the next morning. And tonight, we are tearing it apart. Every fake cure for burnout. Every corporate bedtime story that convinced you evenings are yours. Every soft lie you whispered to yourself so you could sleep at night. Because burnout does not begin in the morning. It begins the night before. Let us go back. Once upon a time, somebody came up with the dream of 8-hour workdays. 8 for work, 8 for sleep, 8 for leisure. That was the marketing. It sounded balanced, almost poetic. But in reality, the 8 hours for leisure were never really yours. They were a buffer, a waiting room between 2 shifts of productivity. Think about it. After 8 hours of work, you do not magically teleport into leisure. You commute. You answer one last email. You help your kids with homework. You remember your boss casually mentioned a deadline tomorrow morning, which actually means tonight if you want to look competent. Suddenly, those 8 hours shrink to maybe 2. And what do you do with those 2? You donate them to screens, to distractions, to whatever app is fastest at numbing. Your so-called free time is not free, it is leased. And the landlord is your inbox. You know the feeling. That phantom vibration in your pocket when no notification actually came. That is not your imagination. That is your nervous system auditioning for unpaid overtime. And then you have the group chats, the corporate, "We are a family" messages that slide in at 9:47 p.m. Families usually do not demand slide decks before breakfast. Families do not CC you on chain emails that begin with "per my last message," but corporations do. And they sell it back to you as flexibility. Flexibility, what a word! It sounds healthy. It sounds like yoga. It sounds like freedom. But flexibility in corporate language means you are available at all times. It means your boss can ping you during dinner and you will say, "Of course." It means your brain is never truly clocked out. You are on call even when nobody admits it. The cruel part? We internalize it. We shame ourselves for being tired, as if exhaustion is proof of laziness rather than the most predictable outcome of a system designed to keep us half alive. They tell you to manage your time better, but how do you manage something that is constantly stolen? That is like blaming someone for not saving enough money while their wallet has a leak. and let us talk about the myth of balance. Work-life balance. That phrase, the spiritual equivalent of a participation trophy. A shiny word slapped on a broken system to distract you from noticing the scam. Balance implies equality. But when was the last time life outweighed work? If anything, the balance has tilted so far that life became just another subfolder in your work drive. Here is the kicker. Free time itself has been gamified. Every app competes for your scraps of attention. Spotify tells you what vibe you should feel tonight. Instagram tells you which lives you are failing to live up to. YouTube lines up another video as if it knows your desires better than you do, and maybe it does. So yes, you have free time. Free in the sense that you are free range, like chickens. You get to walk around in a fenced yard and peck at whatever corn is thrown at you. You mistake it for freedom, but the fence is still there. And the saddest part? We bought the myth. We bought it willingly. We tell ourselves we are lucky to have evenings, that 2 hours of numbing before bed is a gift, that the weekend is long enough to reset an entire body wrung out by endless demands. We lower the bar of freedom until it becomes survival, so let us call it what it is. You do not have free time, you have conditioned time. Pre-programmed, pre-sold, pre-scheduled. You are not lazy. You are not bad at time management. You are simply living in a system where fatigue is currency. And you are broke every night. Let us talk about the addiction nobody wants to name. Doom scrolling. It is the new cigarette, not even a metaphor. It has all the same ingredients. A hit of relief, a ritual of the hands, a creeping dependency, and a quiet cultural denial that it is eating us alive. You light up your phone like people used to light a pack of smokes. You drag your thumb down, inhale the content, hold it in, and release with a sigh. Except instead of smoke filling your lungs, it is noise flooding your brain. The average person scrolls for 3, 4, sometimes 6 hours a day. That is a part-time job, except you do not get paid. You pay with your focus, your mood, your sleep cycle. And what do you get in return? A highlight reel of other people's filtered lives and a nervous system wired like a car alarm that never stops. It is easy to say, just put the phone down. That is like telling a smoker, just stop lighting cigarettes. Addiction is not about willpower. Addiction is architecture. Apps are designed like casinos. Variable rewards, pull to refresh, bright colors, notifications engineered to hijack the same dopamine loops that slot machines perfected decades ago. Do you ever notice how you scroll without even realizing it? You open your phone to check the weather. 5 minutes later, you are deep into some stranger's vacation photos. You were not trying to. Your body did it for you. That tiny thumb flick, that is your nicotine patch. It is muscle memory carved into your nervous system. Here is a fun experiment. Delete every social app for 24 hours. Watch how your hand twitches. Watch how your brain panics, inventing excuses like, what if I miss something important? As if the world will collapse without your digital attendance. That panic is not boredom, that is withdrawal. And look at how society talks about it. Nobody admits it is addiction. They rebrand it. They call it staying informed. They call it community. They call it entertainment. We have built a culture where overdosing on content is seen as normal. But answer honestly, after 2 hours of scrolling headlines, do you feel informed? Or do you feel like you just ate 30 bags of chips and now you are bloated, guilty, and somehow still hungry? The information does not nourish you. It spikes you, and then it crashes you, and the cycle repeats. The cruelest trick? We shame ourselves for it. We call ourselves lazy for scrolling too much. But the truth is, the deck is stacked. These platforms have billion-dollar research teams figuring out how to keep you hooked. And you are one person with a tired brain at 11 p.m. That's not a fair fight. So here is the slightly wrong take. Doom scrolling is not your personal weakness. It is a system-level scam. You are not addicted to your phone. You are addicted to engineered uncertainty, the constant what's next that never ends. And until you name it for what it is, you will keep lighting up that endless pack of digital cigarettes. Picture this. You finish work. You drag yourself home. You drop your bag. The couch looks like salvation. You grab snacks. You hit play on a show. Autoplay takes care of the rest. Hours pass. Episodes blur. The bag of chips is empty. The clock says midnight. And what do you feel? Not joy, not relief, just nothing. Numbness. That is the modern bedtime routine. It masquerades as rest, but functions as sedation. You are not recharging. You are unplugging yourself from yourself. And numbness feels deceptively safe. It is quiet. It is predictable. It shields you from the chaos of your thoughts. But numbness is not healing. It is avoidance in disguise. It looks like rest. It feels like sedation. And it convinces your nervous system that stillness is unbearable. Think about it. How often do you avoid silence? You play music while cooking. You scroll while eating. You watch videos while brushing your teeth. Every gap is filled because silence feels like a threat. Silence is where the overthinking starts, and overthinking is scary. But here is the twist. Overthinking is not the enemy. Overthinking is a symptom. It is your brain saying, I have been ignored all day. Now I need attention. But instead of listening, you shove another show in its face, another scroll, another distraction. You drug the messenger and then complain that the message never arrived. Recovery does not happen in numbness. Recovery requires presence. But presence feels dangerous when you have been running from yourself all day. That is why so many people confuse sedation with relaxation. Because sedation is easier. Relaxation requires awareness. Sedation requires snacks. And the cost is subtle. You wake up the next morning not recharged but depleted. Your brain never got to process the day. Your body never got to release the tension. You slept, but you did not rest. You woke up alive, but not living. Here is the slightly wrong punchline. If silence scares you more than burnout, congratulations. You are not resting. You are overdosing on noise. Here is the tragic comedy of our time. Doing nothing used to be the most natural thing. You sit on the porch, you watch clouds, you stare at a wall, your brain wanders. And somehow in that wandering, creativity blossoms, emotions settle, life integrates. That used to be normal. Now, doing nothing has become a luxury skill. We live in a culture that pathologizes stillness. If you are not producing, not consuming, not sharing, not hustling, then you must be wasting time. Imagine telling your great-grandparents that in the future, people would pay hundreds of dollars for mindfulness retreats where someone teaches them how to breathe and stare at a candle. They would laugh, because once upon a time, people knew how to sit without panicking. Why did we forget? Because stillness cannot be monetized. Nobody sells ads when you are staring at a tree. Nobody collects data when you are daydreaming. Nobody profits when you simply sit and exist. So the system convinces you that stillness is laziness, that you must earn rest, that idleness is sin. Here is a challenge for you. Tonight, turn everything off for 60 seconds. No phone, no background music, no multitasking. Just sit. Watch what happens. Your mind will scream. Your body will itch. You will feel like you are wasting time. That discomfort? That is not boredom. That is withdrawal. Withdrawal from constant stimulation. Doing nothing is not the absence of activity. It is the presence of awareness. It is letting your brain land after running laps all day. But we are so used to motion that stillness feels dangerous. That is why meditation is so hard for beginners. Not because sitting is hard, because being with yourself is unbearable when you have been ghosting yourself for years. Think about the irony. Productivity gurus now package doing nothing as the next big hack. They rebrand it with shiny names like restorative idleness or digital detox. They sell journals and apps to guide you into stillness. The market can even monetize the absence of markets. That is how allergic we have become to being. But the truth is simpler. Doing nothing is a rebellion. In a system that wants you always busy, always consuming, always proving, the act of sitting quietly is radical. It is refusal. It is saying my existence is not dependent on my output. So here is the slightly wrong take. You do not need to optimize stillness, or you do not need to track it. You do not need to buy an app for it. You just need to practice it like a forgotten language. Sit down, shut up, breathe, let the silence freak you out, and then let it settle. That is not laziness, that is recovery. So what do you do with all this? Burn your phone? Quit your job? Move to a cabin in the woods and write manifestos? Relax. I am not your cult leader. I am not here to sell you fantasies of vanishing from society. The solution's not dramatic. The solution is small. What you need are tiny acts of rebellion, not grand revolutions, quiet refusals, micro habits that remind you your life is yours. Example 1. Light a candle instead of a screen. That small flicker of flame does not scream for your attention. It just exists. And in its existence, it reminds you that not everything has to demand, ping, or refresh. Example 2. Write 3 sentences in a notebook. Not a gratitude journal, not a 10-step template, just 3 sentences about your day. That's enough to reclaim the narrative from endless feeds. 3 sentences that belong to you, not to algorithms. Example 3. Call a friend instead of stalking their stories. Hear their voice. Listen to their laugh. Remember that connection is not measured in likes, but in moments. Example 4. Cook a meal slowly. Chop vegetables. Stir sauce. Feel how absurdly grounding it is to make something with your hands instead of clicking "Order now." Every meal you cook slowly is an act of defiance against a culture that wants everything instant. Here is the key. Stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is that flaky friend who always says, "Let us hang out," and then ghosts you. Ritual is the friend who knocks on your door every evening, whether you like it or not. Build rituals, not because they are productive, but because they remind you that your evenings are not for sale, and do not overcomplicate it. Your rebellion does not need to look like Che Guevara. It can look like closing Chrome at 9 p.m. It can look like putting your phone in another room while you brush your teeth. It can look like saying no to one extra email. These are not glamorous. Nobody will applaud you. But rebellion rarely is. The power of tiny acts is accumulation. One evening of rebellion feels small, but 50 evenings, that becomes identity. That becomes a pattern your nervous system recognizes. That becomes you reclaiming yourself piece by piece. And here is the slightly wrong reminder. Do not romanticize it. Rebellion will feel boring. It will feel awkward. It will feel like you are missing out. But that discomfort is proof you are no longer sedating yourself. You are waking up. So, start embarrassingly small. 1 candle, 1 notebook line, 1 cooked meal. These are not life hacks. They are life itself, and they are waiting for you every evening. Your mind is not a sponge you can wring out every night. It is a muscle, and like any muscle, it either strengthens with recovery or it collapses under strain. The problem is, we treat our brains worse than we treat our phones. We charge our phones obsessively. We panic if the battery dips below 20%. Yet we brag about running ourselves down to 1% every single night. Think about the absurdity. If your phone hit 0 every day, you would call it broken. But when you hit 0, you call it ambition. You wear burnout like a badge of honor. You post about how busy you are, how little sleep you get, how many projects you are juggling. Exhaustion has become a currency, and bragging about it is like flexing counterfeit bills. Recovery is not glamorous. It does not make good Instagram posts. Nobody claps when you choose to go to bed at 10 p.m. instead of grinding until 2 a.m. Nobody celebrates when you take a quiet walk instead of attending another virtual networking event. But that is the work that matters. That is how you build emotional recovery muscles. Let us be clear. Recovery is not escape. It is not disappearing into 5 hours of TV. It is not drowning your nerves in alcohol and calling it unwinding. Real recovery is training. It is repetition. It is boring. And that is why people avoid it. Think of it like the gym. Nobody builds strength by lifting a dumbbell once. Nobody heals burnout by taking one vacation. Recovery is built through small daily reps, sleep hygiene, boundaries, micro habits that protect your nervous system. The glamorous part is the transformation. The boring part is what actually makes it happen. Here is a slightly wrong metaphor. Imagine treating your brain like a garden. Every evening is a chance to water it, to clear weeds, to nourish it. But instead of watering, you dump soda on it. Instead of clearing weeds, you plant more stress. And then you wonder why nothing grows. Building recovery muscles means embracing the boring. It means accepting that healing does not always feel good in the moment. Sometimes it feels like sitting in silence while your thoughts scream. Sometimes it feels like choosing sleep over one more episode. Sometimes it feels like walking away from noise even when noise feels safer. Your recovery muscle is weak because you never train it. But the good news? Muscles grow when stressed properly. The first reps are shaky. The first nights of real rest feel awkward. But over time, your nervous system learns that recovery is safe, that silence is not dangerous, that you do not have to numb yourself to survive. Stop bragging about exhaustion. Start training recovery. Because burnout is not proof you worked hard. It is proof you stopped listening. So here is the ugly truth. Burnout does not arrive with a bang. It arrives in silence. Evening by evening, scroll by scroll, it seeps into your life so quietly you call it normal. You do not collapse in one dramatic moment. You disappear gradually. You fade out until you are a ghost, haunting your own routine. Recovery is not a weekend spa trip. It is not a scented candle or a bubble bath, though those things can help. Recovery is a practice. It is the unglamorous discipline of choosing presence over sedation, rest over noise, connection over performance. Nobody profits when you rest, which is exactly why you must. Because if you do not protect your evenings, someone else will claim them. Apps, bosses, algorithms. The world will always find a way to colonize your downtime unless you reclaim it. So let us circle back to the question that started all this. Netflix asks, "Are you still watching?" Tonight I want you to ask yourself a different version. Am I still living? And here is where I hand it over to you. What is the one thing you keep calling rest, even though deep down you know it is just numbing? Be honest, drop it in the comments. Let us see who is brave enough to tell the truth, because your evenings are waiting. The only question left is whether you will show up.